Do you like bad reviews more than good reviews? Do you like to read bad reviews more than good reviews?
Really? Why? Oh, I can't ask you questions. I'm sorry.
We can talk after.
Yeah.
No, but I totally understand that. I mean, it depends on what the review is of, but I totally understand. I mean, that desire. I mean, some of my most viewed videos and Myke's as well are negative reviews. And one of my hobbies, although I haven't indulged in a while, is like going on rateyourmusic.com and sifting through negative reviews of my favorite albums, because you can set it so that it gives you the negative reviews first. But I like reading the really well written negative reviews, and the ones that like break my heart. I'm just like, oh,
well,
come on.
It's redemption.
Yeah.
If you hate something, you wanna. If somebody's communicating that hate in a more artistic or interesting way, it's redemption mixed with like.
All right, other people hate it too.
Yeah.
But see, I don't mind reading a negative review on an album that I actually like, because a lot of times it'll make me go back and listen to, like, okay, so if somebody says, I think that this certain album, like let's say the last Aesop Rock album, I think the last Aesop Rock album, the production was just not Bazooka Tooth. I'll go back and be like, man, you're fucking crazy. This production is way better than Bazooka Tooth. The lyrics aren't as good. I'll go back and listen even harder to the lyrics. So sometimes a negative review helps. It makes you listen to things a little bit differently, and it might even make you like the album more. I know that's weird, or maybe that's just my thinking, but
No, it's true. I mean, the best negative review sometimes of an album that you like is the one that makes like a point that you agree with.
Yeah.
And in regards to the whole negative review thing, I feel like that is another thing that into the future is going to continue to be something that makes album reviews something that people read, something that people indulge in. Because if the be-all, end-all of music enjoyment was simply just sitting at home and listening to the record, then we wouldn't even be at this festival right now. We'd just be sitting in our houses or apartments and then just listening to the artists that are playing here this week on our iPods or our album, or on record or whatever. But instead, we're going out to shows to see them. We're appearing at panels where we're talking about them, because there's something to be said about, discussion of the culture that we're participating in that, benefits the artistic element of what we all love about it.
And if we're talking about the internet age, I think it's very important to factor in negative reviews, because artists can no longer judge how good their music is by record sales, because nobody is buying albums. They're not really getting honest opinions anymore, because how do they know who's liking it or who's not liking it, because there's no real numbers to pull from. And that's what I was talking about earlier, is why I like to review albums, even if it's something that I'm lukewarm with. I like being able to tell an artist exactly what it is that I thought about their album, and I agree 100% with that quote. I'd rather be very, very, very harsh isn't the word, but very poignant about my dislike of the album, because even though a lot of artists won't admit it, it's doing them good.
The negative reviews gives more weight to your positive reviews, and in general, I think most writers or critics who are willing to dish out the harsh review.
I mean, well, one thing I want to ask you, because I feel like we need your voice in on this a little more, because of you're coming at what Myke and I do from a different point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in your profession, do you still feel like you seek out reviews of the artists that you're promoting? What are some of the benefits you see? Or you promote a ton of different artists, and some of them get reviewed well, some of them don't. Some of them don't get reviewed at all. Some of them get reviewed more. What are some of the benefits or lack thereof that you're seeing pre and post review with a lot of these artists?
I think even just getting someone to, give a shit enough to review a record has become a lot harder in the post-internet age, because everyone, I think what I think about it is that the music press has kind of morphed into this sort of CNN 24-hour news cycle, and it's not really focused on the long-form piece, the long-form thoughtful review. There's still a few publications doing it, but so many magazines have gone out of business, and some of the really thoughtful ones have gone out of business. So you kind of now have, the release of a new track or a remix or a album announce or a music video. That's your best chance to get press for most of my bands who are mostly just starting out. Getting someone to consider them important enough to actually review the whole record is now the challenge for me. So I mean, if I can get you to review one of my bands, then I'm like, okay, score. Even if you didn't like it that much, it's like, hey, well, there's inevitably going to be like 10, 20,000 people viewing this, and maybe hearing about the band for the first time, and you're usually like fair-handed, I think, in your reviews, where if there are some positive elements, even if the review is like a 6 out of 10, you'll bring up certain songs you like or whatever, and maybe like, whatever good comes out of that. I feel like it's it's a win for me if you review anything of mine.
but with the internet age, I mean, in your opinion, with the music world and the internet sort of being fully intertwined, at least from what I'm seeing right now, there are a lot more ways than there used to be to promote a band. And obviously album reviews, while they have evolved over the years, are still in a sense kind of an old school medium, and we have all of these new avenues to do music promotion now thanks to the internet. And sort of, where do album reviews sit in that hierarchy, assuming that at one time they were like the top? I mean, do you feel like there are other things that with the internet age coming in have topped album reviews in terms of effective music promotion?
Editorials.
I mean, is YouTube better now? Is social media better now? Is it better to, get an artist on a panel like this? Is it better to make sure that they're on some kind of relevant showcase at South by Southwest
late night
concert?
You can get late night TV.
Late night TV. Is
you
that
get in so many. You can. I mean, it's tough. I've used a number of different PR companies in the past. The first thing we ask for is late night. It's expensive. I mean, it's pay to play.
I mean, I think in some ways, though, even there are some artists who go on late night TV and it doesn't really even make a bump for them.
Depends. I mean,
it depends. I mean, it also can make somebody's career.
I mean,
so it just sort of depends.
Certainly didn't hurt Killer Myke when he went on his run, or LP when he went on his run, or
it certainly doesn't.
Tyler when Jimmy, Jimmy Fallon broke Tyler, the creator.
Yeah.
I saw the the Yonkers video when it had a couple 100,000 views. I mean,
it can.
Now there's a store on Fairfax.
It can work like that, and it doesn't always. But I mean,
if the machine's behind it.
Yeah. I think you kind of have to do all of the above now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's different, is that everything you mentioned is important.
But like a bad review, like Pitchfork giving you a bad review is a great review. Because, I mean, if you remember a couple years ago when they reviewed Mayhem Loren's project, gave it a bad review, it took off virally for him. He turned that bad review around, and it, really got some good traction for it.
Yeah, there's like a contingent of people online, I think, who see bad reviews from Pitchfork and think, that's somebody I'm going to support.
This must be good.
This must be good. Or there must be a reason that they gave it a bad review. It piques their curiosity at least enough to check it out, and then it'll find an audience.
There are people that openly say that to me as well when I'm reviewing records, or interacting with people on Twitter. They'll tell me that they will specifically seek out stuff that I give like a negative review or like a 6 out of 10, and they're like, I usually love this stuff Antano gives a 6, and I hate everything he gives an 8. So I don't know, like usually maybe if it's in that range, it's at a certain level of like accessibility, but not too batshit insane, or something like that to offend anybody. But to sort of go off what you were saying earlier about doing everything, I mean, I just think album reviews, while still a tool that works, have just sort of, and not necessarily in a bad way, just become one of the many tools right now that artists could potentially use to, or artists could, have at their disposal to blow up, I mean, there are artists these days that are being introduced to music audiences via reviews, and there are artists today that are getting introduced via viral YouTube videos and via Hype Machine and, you know, via other music aggregators, and, you know, some artist throws a song up on SoundCloud. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that whatever art you're trying to create could potentially spread. Just album reviews is one of the ways that that could potentially happen.
Okay. Real quick, let's talk about a review that you guys did that had a real positive effect on an artist. Just bring up one instance. Start with you, Myke. We haven't heard you talk much.
Really?
I miss your
Not
voice.
enough.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Well, the first one that comes to mind is a rapper named Logic. We reviewed his very first project. It was called Young Sinatra, and we gave it a really, really good review. And then we reviewed his second project, which was called Undeniable. And me and one of the guys, Ken, did not really care for the project. And there was this pull because we had talked to him quite a few times on Twitter, and he was like, "Oh man, thank you so much for this review. It really did wonders, and you guys are the greatest." And then when that second project came out, it was like you were saying, like we're required, like it's our job to tell the truth. We have to be honest about this. I didn't want to give him a bad review, but I couldn't get on camera and lie. And plus, because I respected him as an artist, I wasn't going to be like, "Yeah, man, this is great. This is an awesome album." No, I see the potential in you. I think you can do better. This album was not good. When we did an interview with him, he said, I was the first one. He came up and he was just like, "Man, look, I love the fact that you said all those things about my mixtape, because at the end of the day, I agree." And he told us that that review that was not positive is what shaped his third album, which he's now signed to a major record
Def
deal.
Jam.
Yeah, he's signed to Def Jam now.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to be like, "Oh yeah, I got to sign to Def Jam." No, I'm gonna. But I do think that he was being maybe. I love you, Logic.
You
I
just said
do
it
think
now.
that I know.
But let's sort of like in a fake voice. You still said it. Someone's gonna
I
edit
did.
that audio out later.
Yeah, they are. Whatever. That'll be fine. I'll live. Logic knows that, you know.
DMV.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, yeah, I do think that we did help him by not getting on there and being yes men. We didn't get on there and just say, "Yeah, we already liked your first project. We like you as a person, so therefore we're just going to say this album's great." We were very, very, very critical of every single aspect of the album that we did not like, and it turned into a positive situation.
Nice.
In my case, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I could use any one of three instances. I mean, Death Grips Ex-Military, or Clippings Mid-City, or the Young Fathers Tape 1. All the positive reviews that I came out, and I come out with many positive reviews a year, you know, and there are tons of bands that I endorse every year, and I can't predict just because I say, "Hey, I love this," that people are going to love it as well. I just think in this particular instance, people were just really ready for artists like that I just mentioned to come through with some really experimental hip-hop stuff. And after I talked about Death Grips Ex-Military and just sort of had this really odd description of it, calling it angry, violent hobo rap, you know, hobo noise rap, and I just think that really weird description of the album just got a lot of people to check it out. And I mean, it was my positive review that got people to check it out, but it was obviously the outlandishness of Death Grips as a concept and a sound, that everything that got people, you know, addicted to it and made people go crazy for it. And sort of in turn, with me and a bunch of other websites blogging about their stuff, kind of created this atmosphere where where there was like an interest for experimental hip-hop music, like wildly experimental stuff, and that's sort of where groups like Clipping and Young Fathers came in, like a little over or less than a year later. I think actually a little bit after the Money Story got hot. And then, you know, I reviewed Clippings Mid-City, loved that record, and then, you know, a handful of months down the line, I'm sort of working with a buddy of mine who's booked them at a showcase I was doing down here at South by Southwest, or sort of an unofficial showcase. And then a dude over at Sub Pop is telling me that they're signing them based off of sort of what my opinions were on their record, and now they're going to be coming out with a record over there soon. And Young Fathers is the same thing, but with Anticon Records. you know, and actually through my review, David Byrne from Talking Heads checked out their music too and put it on a podcast.
That
Very
totally beats
cool.
my Def Jam
Which
story.
is something that he actually like writes on his website. You know, he's like,
Yeah,
I think
David
I heard
Byrne.
about this on The Needle Drop or something. You know,
Wow.
it's like, or something. It could have been me. It could have, maybe it wasn't.
David
Who
Byrne
the
watched
heck
the needle
knows?
drop. That's amazing.
But you know, I mean, I've seen positive effects from reviewing artists, but I think there also has to be, you know, there's definitely, I can't deny that there was an atmosphere that was ready for artists like this to kind of echo.
Yeah, sure.
You know, whereas there are groups like I just said I reviewed earlier, White Suns, who, as abrasive as they are and as much as I love them for that, it's just not a sound that I see, you know, just like creating a huge ripple, you know. And I'm sure there are artists that, in your opinion as well, you love it to death just as much as more popular, accessible stuff, but you know inside, like, this is
never gonna go anywhere.
This isn't going to go anywhere as much as, you know, and I think that's an important aspect for somebody who does music reviews to have. I mean, you know, you can pick between whether or not something that something is something you love and something you think other people are going to love.
So on the flip side of that, can you talk about a negative review that just went bad, where you reviewed it and it just went downhill from there? Bloody, give us the details. All these people sat all through this and they want to know. They came for the...
I'm not giving names because these people are much larger than I. And I don't mean in popularity, I mean in stature.
Literally?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. There have been a few artists that I've reviewed, and you know, and again, like I was saying earlier, because I love these artists, I feel like it's my duty to tell them when they're fucking up, because obviously nobody else is doing
I
that.
feel like this is an artist that was on my label.
No, that needs to be edited. I don't want to die. But there have been quite a few times I've had artists call me on the phone and tell me that I'm full of shit. I've had artists who have sent me emails and tell me that I'm full of shit, and if they ever see me, they will slap this is a direct quote, they will slap the hair off my head. That's a hard fucking slap. So, yeah, there's been quite a few of reviews that I've done. But the thing about it is that didn't stop me from continuing to give bad reviews, but it just shows me which artists are actually mature enough to take it. Because I typically don't get on camera and just be like, this artist is terrible, they suck, they should never rap again. I have done that. But those are artists that I really feel like should not be rapping.
At least he means it.
I definitely mean it, every word I say. But the artists that I'm critical of, there's a big difference between just being critical and being negative. The artists that I'm critical of, those are the ones I respect. Those are the ones I want to continue to make music, but I need them to make better music.
They disappoint you.
They disappoint me,
They hurt
especially
your
when they get
feelings.
angry and they threaten to slap hairs off my head.
As far as negative stuff, I mean, to kind of preface this, I agree with a point that Daniel said earlier and said that, you know, in terms of somebody who does PR, and I imagine, you know, an artist themselves as well, to even have somebody reviewing your album, period, is a good thing. I mean, because I can only review so many things a week, a month, I have to sort of be picky about what I do and do not choose to review. And I'm very susceptible to what the people who watch me are asking me to review and are requesting for me to review. And I can, you know, just totally outside of whether or not an artist is getting positive reviews, I can tell whether or not someone's buzz is dying based on how many requests I'm getting for something, you know. And there are some artists who, like, first record they came out with, like Sleigh Bells, for example, you know, they came out with Treats, and when that record dropped, like, people were just begging me to, you know, just tell them what I thought about that record. And now, just with their third record recently coming out, I got very little in the way of people asking me for reviews on that record, and I don't even believe I ended up doing anything on it. You know, and partially that could be because you know, people sort of anticipated that I wouldn't like it, although that's not necessarily a telltale thing, because people love it when I say that I don't like something. You know, usually if I don't like something, they're way more geared to get me to say something horrible about it. But to me, in a way, even if I don't enjoy an artist particularly, it's kind of like disappointing to me in a sense to sort of see interest in them wane when I know at one time it had been so high.